So a question I have is, how good is this 2025 squad? Well, of course, we won't know till they're played, but on paper, from what we've seen, how strong is this squad compared to Lions squads of the past? Now, I was watching the Lions captain's dinner in Wales, in the Vale where Wales train, watching all these great stories from Martin Johnson, Sam Warburton, Alan Wynne-Jones and Scott Quinnell. I'll pop some pictures up, I'm sure. And I was just thinking, okay, how strong were their squads? Obviously, at the time, it was amazing. But when you compare in the cold light of day, who had the strongest squad? And then what area of the squad was particularly strong? So I started going down a bit of a rabbit warren, and this took me a lot longer than I thought it would, but it's a lot of fun. I'm going to go through by position all the squads that I would say are in the professional era, and I know that's a bit of a woolly thing, about 95, so the first semi-professional squad, I guess, is 97. They kind of cross both codes, and that's the year where I started watching the Lions properly and remembering it. And it's many people's favourite year because it was the first one with the video, with the documentary, where they were really quite open because they weren't used to all this media stuff, and it was amazing. And they won, of course, in South Africa. So I'm starting from there, going through to the 2025 squad and saying which area I think was the strongest from all the years. And it's incredibly subjective, so please do tell me which area is the strongest, and then overall, which was the strongest squad, if you can do that, because that's pretty crazy. So let's go through these years. We had 97, they went to South Africa, they won 2-1. It was amazing, and we remember the DVD, and then they went to Australia with a lot of the same players under Graham Henry, actually. Martin Johnson was the captain there, and they lost 2-1 when they probably should have won, and Martin Johnson was going on about that's his one big regret in his rugby life. They couldn't put the Aussies away, and they came back. Then we had Clive Woodward, fresh off his World Cup win and all his ideas of professionalism and where it should be, and the cold nature of having the separate test squad and the separate non-test squad, a massive amount of players, a massive amount of support staff. And do you know what? The game isn't played by numbers, and it's played on the pitch, and they got absolutely panned, and O'Driscoll got turned on his head by Umanga, and nothing happened, and they lost 3-0. I remember it for that. Then they went to South Africa in 2009. They went back to Ian McGeechan, back to the older ways, and it was better, but they lost those first 2 tests. They won the last one, but it was still a 2-1 loss, fairly close, I guess. Then we had a win finally after the 97 win, came 2013. It was a big wait. Warren Gatland, his first one in charge. Sam Warburton, the captain. They win 2-1. They go 1-1, but a really exciting big win for the Lions in the end. And they came out deserved winners. 2017 was that weird draw in New Zealand. Actually a really good tour, a strong squad. And then that strange decision where Ken Owens caught the ball in an offside position, and the ref was like, let's make a deal. I mean, it was a little bit weird, but essentially New Zealand probably should have won, but it turned out a draw and no one really knew what to do. Then we had 2021. They went back to South Africa against the world champions, with Alan Wynne-Jones coming back from the dead almost with his shoulder surgery. He talked quite a lot about that, and about he just wanted to be out there. He wasn't in great shape shoulder-wise, but again, South Africa just too strong, lost 2-1. So they need a win, and could it be Australia again that gives them that win under Maro Itoje? And is this one of the strongest squads ever assembled? Now, do pause the video at any point, because I've got big old text walls here with all the different positions, and I haven't put every player that was involved. Generally, I've put the players that were selected as long as they started the tour. If they were replaced before the tour started, I've kind of put a slash there, but I've tried not to put everyone, more a reflection of the strength of the position, assuming the Lions coach picked the best squad, which I guess they generally do, really, give or take. It's fairly even. Dan Sheehan, I think, could be a star player, and maybe that could tilt it towards 2025. And I always see how much strapping's on Sheehan to gauge his fitness a bit, but he could be amazing if unencumbered. And LCD and Kelleher are pretty solid backups, so it's actually a pretty good lineup. The best one, well, Keith Wood was my favourite. But as a trio, I think maybe Best, George and Owens, all 3 class operators at the peak of their game, could easily all have started. So let's go for that, but a tough start there. Into prop, very happy with the 6 props selected for 2025. Maybe not the biggest scrummaging unit, but really good around the park, good all-round players, right at the top of their game. Below the 6th, and maybe Beelum aside, now it could get hairy if a few injuries happens, that's for sure. Now, Oz are going to have a really good scrum actually in 2025, so that's going to be interesting. Maybe it's going to be an around-the-park game. And it always helps not playing South Africa, of course, but I still think Australia can be very good. In 97, maybe their job was more not to get smashed, and maybe that's why we remember why their front row was decent, but maybe it actually wasn't the best. Previous tours of Australia, the Lions have done well in the scrum. We had the late call-up of Corby Sierra, who was a real key player, actually. Had Prime Mako, Gethin Jenkins, Adam Jones. So, yeah, let's go for 2013 for props. But, yeah, just let me know what you think, because it's just so hard. I started this video thinking, it's going to be easy to pick the best year, but it so wasn't. Second rows. Probably not the strongest roster going, and some people saying maybe these guys will play 6 as well, but generally these are second rows going. Maybe Ty Burns, your standout, but those years with Paul O'Connell and Alan Wynne-Jones, they stand out. Courtney Laws, etc., very good. Maybe I'd go for that middle year there, 2009. They had Alan Wynne-Jones and O'Connell, and Shaw was underrated. He was a hell of a player. So maybe one of those O'Connell and Alan Wynne-Jones years. Let's just go for 2009 and have done with it there, because it's a tricky one. Now, by the very nature of the back row, it always seems an exciting position, and this year is pretty strong, but the years with Backhill Delalio, say, were a really heady mix when they were at their prime, and then 2013, 2017, when he had the class Welsh back row, Lydiate, Tipperett, Warburton, Falatau, that was impressive. And you add in the human cannonball that's Sean O'Brien, I think you probably go for 2013 again. 2025 at the moment seems to lack a bit of bulk, but they've got 2 extra positions they could fill there. It looks like they want to play really fast, which could be exciting. Henry Pollock easily wins the biggest Bolter award, probably out of all the years, to be honest. And Andy Farrell, like I said, could add to that squad. But I think on balance, I'll go for 2013. Yeah, the Welsh back row, Chuck and O'Brien, you've got Heaslip there and Croft. I mean, that is a fantastic set of back row. So yeah, let's give it to them. Let's look at the scrum halves. And it's actually really hard to go past the first 2, the same lineups of Dawson, Healy and Howley. All world-class players, completely different. Healy, the absolute maverick. Howley, they were saying in the Lions captain's dinner, as was Martin Johnson, that Howley was the star player. He was the best player by miles, and it was how do you build a team around him. I thought that was quite interesting. Plenty of other good players there. I thought Mike Phillips in his prime was an absolute generational player, a big, powerful player. And I do like the lineup in 2025. Gibson, Park, Mitchell and Thomas Williams could be fantastic. But I think overall, I'd go for the 97, 2001 lineup, Howley, Dawson and Healy. Now on to the all-important playmakers, the fly half. Looking at 2025, we've got Finn Smith, who's new to the big time, but could be great. It's a really interesting mix, actually. Russell, who's got all the ability, can have off days, goal kicking, can make rash decisions, but can be phenomenal. And Marcus Smith in there as the quick running fly half who can play 15. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting mix to see how well they go on paper. Maybe not the strongest. We'll see what it looks like at the end. So possibly a little vulnerable, but you look back at more Shaw years where you're a bit more relying on those players. Neil Jenkins, O'Gara, Wilkinson of 2001. I mean, they should have won that series, especially with those 3 amazing fly halves, goal kicking machines, all of them. Then you've got those 3 tours with Farrell and Sexton, again, nerveless goal kickers, amazing competitors, strong defensively. They could easily be one of those years. I think it's kind of fingers crossed for this year. I'm excited about it. Who's the best year? Well, I think let's go for those respective legends from their country of Neil Jenkins, Ronan O'Gara and Johnny Wilkinson. Let's go to the centres, and my God, there's some good centre pairings here. I mean, any year where you've got O'Driscoll, Roberts, Jonathan Davis all overlapping, they're all fantastic lineups. And I tell you one that I really like, that first one, Bateman, Gibbs, Greenwood, Guscott and Tate. And of course you've got Jeremy Guscott making that winning drop kick to win the series. So I'm very close to going to that one, but I think over my heart, I think that lineup of Jonathan Davis, O'Driscoll, Roberts and Tuolangi, that is fantastic in 2013. I think that takes it for me. So that is the best lineup I've ever seen. Although this year, I think it's looking really good. Tuipulotu's just come back, and if he goes well, then it's a really good lineup, say Tuipulotu Ringrose or Tuipulotu Jones. Then finally onto the back 3 in 2025. An interesting lineup, quite a lot of back 3 there. We've got a versatile guy in Daly. We've got some amazing high ball exponents, some big powerful guys, Van der Merwe, etc. Maybe lacking a little bit on the pure pace that we've had in the past. There's no Shane Williams type player. There's no the Ian Evans type player. Darcy Graham was playing last weekend and looked amazing. And I do hope he gets a call. I don't want an injury on anyone, but if there is an injury, you've got to get him out there, and then maybe it does have everything. But who was the best back three on paper over all the tours? 2005, that ill-fated New Zealand tour looked good on paper. Williams, Robinson, Big George North, Anthony Watson, Halfpenny. Great balance. It didn't work out, but I think I'm going to give a shout out actually to the vintage 97 back three. Maybe it's the heart there, but I just remember Ian Evans scoring amazing tries. John Bentley was a phenomenal. He came from Rugby League and he was an absolute inspiration there. Jenkins kicking the goal. So let's go for 97. Maybe that is a bit more heart than head. Maybe head would say 2005, but let me know what you think. So that was a lot harder than I thought, picking a winner from each position. Do not worry if you disagree with me, and I'm sure I'll make a different call if I was to do this another day as well, but a lot of fun. So finally, what was the best year? Well, looking at my process, I'd say 2013. Maybe that's a bit biased by the fact that they won against Australia. It was actually a very good Australian side and it was a close win, but I thought they played great with some fantastic players. Can they win again in 2025? We'll see. How good will we rate this squad after that tour is done? I'm saying 2013 was the best, but my heart is still with that 1997 tour, as many of yours will be. Anyway, do like the video, do subscribe if you haven't already, that'd be amazing. On the channel we do have a really good offer on manual home testosterone testing kits if you're into that, or you know someone who wants one. 45% off with RugbyAnalyst 45, a great deal to get tested, makes it super cheap. Anyway, I hope you like that whistle stop tour down Lions history to pick the best positions by year and overall. Do let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you next time.